Boom!
All right, everybody. Welcome back into another episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, the number one podcast in the world for growing your insurance business. And this is episode 100, special edition and special 2-hour exclusive episode today. Christian Brindle, Glenn Shelton, appreciate you guys being here with us today, whether you're watching live or whether you are watching on the replay on various different platforms. Here we are. We made it to episode 100. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. You're welcome for joining you today, by the way. I felt like that was like an appreciation to me. So
Personal,
you're
thank you.
Yes. Guys, could not be more excited about, I've got to turn Teams off. If I hear that ding one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Stop
turn it
Teams.
off. I turn it off every single morning before we go because I've gone through many episodes ready to throw my laptop against the wall.
Guys, I could not be more excited about today's 100th episode. What's crazy is if you were to search Taco Tuesday, you may have been following us since our Taco Tuesday journey. We did 100 episodes of Taco Tuesday, and then the show kind of naturally died on that 100th episode. And here we are in a period of time. It took us 2 years to do 100 Taco Tuesdays. We're just over 4 months in to the Seven Figures or Bust podcast. We've already done 100 episodes, and I could not be excited for the next 100 episodes. Today, we're doing something special. We are going to be answering your guys' questions. We've already got a few questions. If you have any questions, it could be literally about anything. It could be something specific to what Christian and I are doing. It could be something in the industry. It could be something you're concerned about with your FMO. It could be drama in the Facebook groups. It could be you want to know why Christian and I just have the most beautiful bald heads you've ever seen. Whatever it is, comment below. Maybe you have some NBA questions. Maybe there's some basketball fans secretly in the chat. And you want to know why Jason Tatum is the anti-clutch. Maybe you want to know why Mikal Bridges is, in my opinion, the player of the year. Man, I keep forgetting to wear my Knicks. I literally was laying in bed last night, and I was like, I'm going to wear my Knicks hat tomorrow on the street.
Player of the year? My head's about to explode right now.
He will be. He will. Wait till the Knickies win this whole thing. Yes. Celtics. Once the Celtics go down, it's anybody's.
That's true. In the East, I mean, even if they found a way to make it to the finals, whoever comes out of the West is gonna spank them like they want it.
You are such a Thunder fan.
No, I'm not. I'm a realist. I am a realist. Okay.
No.
The Thunder looked good last night. Oh my God, did they look good?
Well, if Shea's perfect, you know.
Which oftentimes he is. Oftentimes, I mean, they showed some stats, right, in terms of points per game and efficiency on all three levels in terms of scoring. And he's having this season. He had the best scoring season by a guard since Michael Jordan. Better than any Kobe season. Better than any James Harden season.
So that's, just to clarify, that's like time on the floor versus points scored. That's the type of stat we're talking about when efficiency.
It's the field goal percentage on every spot in the floor. Threes, mid-range, at the basket, and with the level and volume of scoring that he was doing. I thought that was pretty wild. Like, it was better than any scoring season by a guard since Michael Jordan. Like, that's pretty
last
wild.
Night the Thunder scored I think 127 points in 3 quarters, which is just like mind-numbing. Like, they were a buzzsaw last night. Like, if you're gonna put up 127 points in 3 quarters, you should never lose a game ever. Like, that's
they are
unbelievable.
They are such a good team. They have so many good players. There's so much depth, and they have the star power, right? Like, Shea is, if he's not the MVP, he's second in line for the MVP.
MVP's on the other team, but that's
okay. Right. But it's close. Like, it's a real argument. I vote for Jokic. I'd vote for Jokic.
Good.
I would vote for Jokic. Jokic would be my MVP this season. But Shea is right there, right? It's like 1A, 1B. And, Jalen Williams is terrific. They have good size with Hartenstein and Chet, Lou Dort's great two-way player. Like, they have so many good players.
They do.
Um,
They do. You seem like a big Caruso fan too. I'm assuming the bald head, maybe.
I love Caruso. I love Caruso.
Caruso. Guys, I wanted to also remind everybody, in honor of our 100th episode today, we're giving away 100 turning 65 leads tomorrow, right here in the Facebook group. What does that mean? How can you get your hands on some of these free turning 65 leads? All you have to do is comment. If you're going to comment today, ask us a question. Drop a question. If you've already commented or you haven't commented, you can comment on one of our previous streams this week and get up to 4 entries into Freebie Friday tomorrow. By end of day tomorrow, we will raffle off 100 turning 65 leads to 10 winners. That's 10 apiece. Your chances of winning are very high. And 10 turning 65 leads typically has a retail value of $450. Now, if you need these turning 65 leads and you don't want to leave it up to chance, head over to leadheroes.com right now. We have a special Cinco de Mayo promotion this week that's ending tomorrow. Yep. You have less than 48 hours to get your hands on these turning 65 leads. They've been selling like hotcakes. We might have to shut it off, honestly, if we keep selling at the rate we are. So don't wait. Grab them right now. I'm sure the link will be in the comments on the stream as well. If you have any questions about turning 65 leads or the turning 65 market, drop those in the chat as well. We'd love to answer those. That being said,
here's my proposal on how we handle these, right? Because I'm imagining as we go, there will be a lot of questions coming in. I know we have some that were sent to us before the episode. I say just because, for me anyway, I don't know how it shows up on your end, I can only see the comments for so long as they pile up. I say we handle the ones on the live stream first and then take the ones that have come in beforehand and slow periods, if there are any, on the stream this morning.
Oh, okay.
What do you think about that?
I had them pulled up already, but that's fine.
I just don't want to miss anybody's question.
I know. We did this before. Yeah, we've done this before, you guys. We had a really big Q&A a long time ago, maybe like a year ago. And what happens is Facebook starts kicking those questions out, and then we weren't able to answer some questions. So that's fair. I'm going to screenshot some of these so we can come back to them.
We have plenty of time. We will get to them.
We will. We promise you guys.
Okay, so
why don't you grab one? Yeah, grab one. Let's go. I'd like to do 100 questions. So let's try to get to 100 questions.
Let's get cranking. Let's get cranking.
Let's do it.
All right. Question number 1. What is Oz talking about?
Oh, that's a great question.
Would you like to reveal? Would you like to reveal what he's talking about?
Mehmet, would you like to answer this first one? Let's see what Mr. Oz has for us today, guys. What is Mehmet talking about today?
Let's make sure we're reading it for our audio-only listeners as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'll read it. I'll read it just for those of you that end up listening on an audio-only platform.
Go ahead, take a screenshot, you guys. It's me and Mehmet.
So Dr. Oz, for those of you that don't know, Glenn has a cardboard cutout of Dr. Oz behind him at all times when we do the show. Our current CMS administrator. And there's a word bubble above his head that says save $500 or more on Lead Heroes T65 leads. So that is what Oz is talking about.
I appreciate the endorsement, big guy. I'm not sure the legality behind this, but you know what? I'm going to let this one slip. I won't say anything if you won't say anything. So appreciate that, Mr. Mehmet.
All right.
Oz. All right, Dr. Oz, everybody.
Moving on. Next question. What is the length of the index finger of the Statue of Liberty?
Oh my God.
Any guesses? I have no freaking idea. I guess let me give some context to this.
Oh no. We're 10 minutes in. I'm getting nervous.
I have seen the Statue of Liberty once in my life. I was a child, and I remember seeing it. You know how when you're a little kid, things seem way bigger than they actually are, and then you go back and see them when you're an adult, and you're like, that seemed bigger to me. It's because you were a midget, you were very small. So I could not actually honestly tell you how big the Statue of Liberty is. In my memory, I remember it being huge, but I don't think it was very huge. And like, I think it's good size.
I've never seen it in person, admittedly. Never seen it in person. I guess we should
Google
take
search.
a guess and then do a quick Googler. So index finger of Statue of Liberty. I'm gonna say 3 feet. I'm gonna say it's a 3 foot finger. Final answer.
I'll say 1 foot.
Okay. Closest one wins. Here we go.
All right.
Give it the goog. Give it the old goog. Let's see who's closer.
All right. How long is the Statue of Liberty's index finger? 8 feet.
Whoa, that's insane.
That thing's bigger than I thought.
Yes.
Or maybe I was right. Maybe I was right all along. My first instinct as a child. All right, great question. Very interesting question.
Yes.
All right, next question. Just here so I can have a chance to enter the giveaway. That's not really a question, so I will skip it, but thank you for being here, Doug. Let's see.
Thanks, Doug. We appreciate you, Doug.
How long and how often do you do the sauna?
Love this question. Great question. Christian, how often are you saunaing? I'm assuming that's a word. Talk to the audience. This is important.
So I have a mixture in terms of the location of my workouts. Okay. So I have a health club that I belong to. It's on the way to the office from my house. So it's super convenient in terms of that on days I go in. So my schedule usually is half in the office, half working from home. I also have a gym in my house that we've built. So on days that I don't go in, I will work out at my home gym. So I don't have a sauna in my house yet.
Whoa!
So I usually, if I go in 3 days, that's usually how many times I'd sauna. In terms of how often I'm saunaing, it all depends on how often I'm going into the office. Saunaing. Now I usually will sit in there 15 to 20 minutes. It's usually my time frame. I have done longer. Sometimes in the past I would do 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but I feel myself feeling kind of sleepy all day if I do that. So the 15 to 20 minute mark seems to be the best time frame for me.
Yeah. So for me, it's about 3 or 4 days a week, sometimes maybe 5 days a week. It's funny because I used to always go for 20 minutes. And the variable here, too, for me is how hot the sauna is. Sometimes it seems like it's hotter. I don't know if it's perception or if someone's getting in there and messing with the temp. I love that sweet spot when it's a little bit on the cooler end, and I feel like I could sit in there all day when it's like 160, 170. I feel like it gets a lot hotter. Often, like this morning, it felt like it was probably 200 in there. It was so hot. Mm-hmm. And when it's hot like that, I've got to get out in 15 minutes. I tried to stay in for 20 minutes, but I usually start to feel almost a little sick around 15.
Yeah, but we will have guys routinely in my gym go in, and they'll go in and they'll like, there's always a spray bottle in our sauna that people can spray themselves with.
Oh yeah, so yeah.
We always have guys that will either go in and blow on the sensor, like to get it to blow more, or they'll spray it with water. And sometimes it gets really foggy. It's like basically you feel like it's like a cloud. You can't see through it. I kind of like that. I don't want to see other people in there. I'm like, you do you, bro. You do me. I have wireless waterproof Bluetooth headphones, so I usually have those in earbuds, and I take them in the shower and everything, like when I'm at the gym. And I don't know, I kind of isolate. I had some really great naked conversations with people in the sauna, but lately I just haven't been into it. I've been wanting to listen to my book or whatever I'm listening to.
Yeah, I'm always earbuds in the sauna, which I'm always like, man, are my AirPods gonna just fry in here? you know, because it's
Are they
so hot.
specifically waterproof? You need special waterproof ones.
No,
Like
I'm
I
just
have.
using I just have my AirPods. My AirPods, which by the way, they've been through the washer 3 times. I bought new AirPods when we were going to Nashville, and I've already washed them 3 times. So maybe they are waterproof. I keep leaving them
Maybe
in my
so.
clothes.
Maybe
Um,
so.
let's move on. We've got another great question here. This is an actual Medicare question we're getting to, which is fantastic. John says, if I do all of my Medicare appointments face to face, am I exempt from all FCC and other bureaucratic regulations? I just need an SOA, right? SOA in this context, you guys, of course, stands for scope of appointment. So some of this is true. There's some truth here, but there's also some not truth. When you say other bureaucratic regulations, that is so vague and
That sounds like
potentially
CMS
wide.
to me. That sounds
Yeah,
like CMS.
it's like
I would say
no, you're not. There's still rules.
there just might not be as easily enforced upon you, right?
True,
Because it's not like
true.
you're not having a recorded call or anything, but like, you still have to follow all CMS regulations. And it comes to FCC regulations. FCC regulations, for the most part, have to do with like telecommunications and marketing you're doing to them and things like that. But that being said, like if you're doing a face-to-face appointment, let's say, and you call them to book that appointment, you still have to follow FCC rules and regulations on that phone call to book the appointment. I would say the FCC regulations itself probably don't necessarily apply too much on that face-to-face appointment, but certainly CMS regulations do, and I would consider them
Sure.
a bureaucratic pencil-pushing regulation,
Yes.
friendly organization.
Friendly. Very friendly. That was a good answer. So moving on, I don't want to miss. I see we're getting more and more questions. I don't want to miss these to Facebook's algorithm eating these live in the chat. Keith asks, do these C65 leads include an email address? Also, do we need to wait 48 hours to discuss specific plan details? So Keith, great question. The Turn 65 leads right now from Lead Heroes, they don't always have an email address attached to it. Sometimes they do. A lot of times they don't. What you are getting, though, is all of their specific data point information that was captured originally with that first opt-in. So their name, address, their approximate age, birthday, date of birth, all of that information. And then you also get the notes from the caller and the actual recording of the phone call from the caller. And it does not include a scope of appointment. So if this is going that direction, you're planning on selling Medicare Advantage, you do need to scope them and wait 48 hours at that point if you're setting that appointment or you're going to be talking to them over the phone.
Good question.
Yes.
Let's keep moving on up. All right.
Moving on up.
Do I need to be bald to be successful? Yes, you
Yes.
do.
I'm surprised this is even a question.
So I would highly recommend, some consider shaving the old head. I would highly recommend waxing it. Just kidding. Don't really do that. That's a health concern. You might bleed to death.
Maybe at the summit we'll wax each other's heads on stage. That could be fun. Could you imagine?
Oh, what a spectacle. Welcome to the circus, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Episode 100. The circus.
Where did you and Glenn first meet? Who made the initial move? Oh, a relationship question. How did you guys meet?
Jason, that's very personal. It's very personal. We will share it because we are on the 100th episode special here today.
I am curious if your recollection of it is the same as mine.
Oh my gosh, this sounds like the newlywed game or something. Write it down, then we'll both show it at the same time.
Is it right? Is it the same?
I'll tell you my side of this, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong here. It was early 2020, sometime between, I'd say, like January and March. Christian had started a Facebook group. At the time, it was called Six Figure Medicare Agent. I joined it. I had been floating between a few Facebook groups. I was trying to run a group. It was very difficult, as many of you who've tried to run groups know. It's very difficult to manage a Facebook group and to keep all of the BS, the spamming, the negativity out, and to moderate and to continue to add content. So I see Christian jump in right away, and he's just going ham, obviously spending like 20 hours a day in here. So I'm like, oh, cool. I want to be part of this group. He gets really hot over some comments. I can't even tell you. I, at one point, actually spent a lot of time going all the way back to the beginning of this Facebook group. I was trying to find this first post for history's sake. I wanted to frame it and print it. I couldn't find it. I think it got deleted. But essentially, Christian was really upset, kind of berated someone, and I responded to this comment on this post, and I was like, hey dude, just FYI, like, you're gonna need some thicker skin, which Christian took very personally and was like, oh, okay, whoever you are.
I'm like, fuck you.
Does that sound about right? Did I miss anything there?
Pretty much. I mean, that's pretty spot on. I'll add a couple of additional details that I remember. So yeah, I mean, it was a post that I don't think I was replying to someone's comment. I think someone had kind of gone after me on another thread of some kind, because, you know, like, for those of you that ever run a Facebook group, like, you are, especially when it's blowing up and really growing at a massive rate, like that, like 6-figure, now 7-figure Medicare agent was at the time. Like, it was like all of a sudden the new hot commodity, right, in the scene. And it was growing really fast. And so, but anytime people are getting used to you and they're getting to know you, you're all of a sudden under a microscope, and people just,
yes,
you know, they're going to criticize you, and, you know, pretty massively. And if you've never gone through that before, you're not used to it. Like, most people don't deal with that in their everyday life. It takes a little bit of adjusting. And so at the time, especially that first year, I would do a lot of what we refer to now as public executions of people. Like, I would put up posts and just absolutely just drag them through the mud and just, you know, curb stomp them in a way.
I feel like, I think you even, if I'm trying to really remember this, like, I'm doing a deep memory search here. I feel like you even DM'd me. I think you were so bothered at my comment that I think you
might have.
I think you DM'd me and you were like, dude, I have thick skin. Like, it was something like that.
I might
like,
have.
trust me, I have thick skin. You don't even know what's going on. Like, it was something like that. Which then I flipped around and was like trying to sell him leads. I was like, yeah, that's great. You should get some
Here's
leads.
some leads. Yeah. So let me put a cap on this, because there is another part of the story that I think is relevant, right? Because it's like people might wonder, how did it go from that to married? Like, so how did that escalate? So I think I want to say like a month went by, maybe 2 months, and all of a sudden we're in COVID. I'm doing these. I start doing these lead
COVID
review videos on the YouTube channel early on, and they were really popular. People really liked them. Where I would buy leads from various lead vendors, and I'd personally work them and document my success, and then I would give the leads a score on what I felt they were, you know, like, in terms of like cost, affordability, you know, intent, you name it, right? The videos are still up if you guys want to go watch them.
They're still there. They're still there.
And we did, like, you know, several Facebook ads vendors. We did direct mail vendors. We did like internet leads, like next gen leads. And so I was doing a lot of these, and they were getting a lot of heat. And so Glenn sees those and goes, this would be a great opportunity, I think, for him to do one for Lead Heroes. So he reaches out to me, and he's like, hey, you should do one of these for Lead Heroes. And I'm a salty bitch sometimes. So I'm like, so I see him message it. I'm like, why would I do that?
No.
You know?
Nope.
Yeah. Like, and I'm like, And so I made some kind of excuse for I'm like, yeah, we got a lot of vendors in the pipeline right now. Put it on the list, And I didn't have anybody in the pipeline. I was full of it. I think I was doing a lead concepts one.
Like that.
I think I was doing a lead concepts one like at the moment, but that was the only one that was kind of in the pipeline. So then he offers, well, what if I gave you a free batch to do that? And I'm like, free leads? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, and I just flipped. And I worked them, and I had really good results. Especially back then, I was a bad mofo with leads. I feel like I feel like I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like nobody was better. I don't think there's any agent in America you could at that time just picked them, handed them a random batch of leads, and been like, go, and they would have done better than me. Was it the peak?
I was nervous too. I was nervous because I knew that no matter what your experience was, not to mention we had already kind of started on this left foot. So I was part of me was concerned. I was like, this dude's going to get a bad batch, which sometimes that happens, right? We're manufacturing leads, right?
And then toast the leads.
Yeah. I mean, like sometimes, if we generate 100,000 leads throughout the course of a year, you guys, there will be a few bad batches in there. And so, I'm concerned. I'm not trying to cherry pick. I'm just trying to give Christian an authentic experience at the time. And I'm like, hey, here you go. Here's 25 leads, whatever it was. And then I'm sitting there in the corner and I'm like, please God, please God, please God, please God. But it went, I remember you telling me, you're like, I closed like 6 out of 25. You're like, these are actually really good. I remember being like, yes, you had a really good experience.
So I gave it like a super, super favorable review. I want to say my total score was like 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10 or something. And I remember you came back and you're like, why not 10? I was like, I gave you an A+, bro. And then from there, that kind of spiraled. Like we started, getting along better. We started, live streaming, collaborating, and then the rest is kind of history.
Yeah. Well, then it was Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
That was the next thing.
Let's shut down memory lane.
Yes. Let's see here. So next question. We're going to keep rolling. How do I know? So this is from Becky. How do I know as a new agent if I am expecting too much? This is such a great question, by the way. How do I know as a new agent if I am expecting too much from my FMO? For brand new agents who might be listening to this or watching for the first time, FMO is Field Marketing Office. It's kind of an interchangeable term with IMO, another very common term, which, this is kind of neither here nor there, but I feel like FMO had took over as the term. When I was a new agent, I felt like everyone said IMO. Now it's FMO. I don't know why that is, but now it's FMO. So, okay, FMO wins. As far as training and career/marketing planning goes, this is such a great question. We could probably spend an hour on this question.
This could be a whole episode topic. Yeah.
Yeah, this is. Do you want to go first on this one? You want me to?
No, I'm happy to kick this one off. Sorry, I'm just scrolling back to it. I was going to see how fast the comments were disappearing. Okay. So basically, how do you know if you're expecting too much from your FMO as far as training and career marketing planning? So I want to make sure that I'm understanding the question first off. So training and career marketing planning. I guess what you mean by that career marketing planning is, and tell me if you're reading it this way as well, is like kind of them helping come up with a blueprint of what your marketing is going to look like, what your prospecting is going to look like, that kind of thing. I think the term FMO, first off, is extremely loosely used these days.
Yes.
So when someone says your FMO, I never know if that means you're literally your FMO, your top of hierarchy organization, right? That has, a huge amount of agents, or if it's a GA above you or an MGA above you that has 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50 agents, right? They're a smaller agency. And the reason I say that is because I think the responsibilities of those two different organizations is very different. So I think, if you have somebody underneath you that's a GA and MGA, first off, they have way fewer agents than a real FMO has. And my definition of an FMO, people always ask, is a large recruiting organization, oftentimes a direct to carrier organization, top of hierarchy organization. But a GA and MGA, like I said, they have way fewer agents to keep track of, so they have a lot more time to hold your hand, right? Whereas let's say there's an FMO that has 5,000 agents or 10,000 agents, they just don't have time to hold your hand unless you're one of their very best. And if you're one of their very best, they probably don't need to hold your hand, right? And so what I've always said is understanding who you're under and what they actually are, I think, is a big piece of that. But then I think a realistic expectation for an upline, to me, is that they're providing you with training that's actionable, that's working today, that is not what most FMOs provide. So most FMOs these days provide, especially some of the old guard, they provide one of three things on their training. 80 to 90% of their training is going to be compliance training. They bring in a carrier rep to train on their carrier, and it's all propaganda, how their carrier cured cancer and they walked on water last year. And it doesn't help you sell anything. It's like, this is why we're so great and fuck all the other carriers kind of training. That's their message. And then the third thing is like grassroots marketing tactics that they used in the 80s and 90s. It's like, yeah, in 92, I did this in my local community, and it's that kind of thing. So I would want my upline to be providing me with actionable items of how you can get business today, like how you're going to run Facebook ads.
Yes.
How can you successfully market and put together and do a presentation for a seminar? How can you brand yourself? How can you buy books of businesses? How can you create a corporation and incorporate and have legacy planning, right? Like real things that matter today. Most FMO trainings these days don't actually help you sell business. And I think the training should actually help you get new clients and attract new clients and write business. So that would be my expectation for them.
I think the part you said where, FM, when you're talking about like FMO being such a loaded term, it's really, it's kind of a loaded question, because if your FMO is local to you, has a physical office, you're coming in on a daily basis and they're training you, like it's so subjective. Everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different. The one thing I will say is communication, I think, is everything here. If you're going into this relationship with your FMO and you have these expectations and you just kind of are silently holding on to them, and then you start working with this new organization, this new IMO, FMO, and they're not fulfilling these, and now you're disappointed and you want to go leave. If you had just had that conversation up front, you probably would have saved yourself a lot of time and grief. Also, maybe they do have some of these resources and things that you want. To me, this almost sounds like you're looking for mentorship. Mm-hmm. If you're brand new and you don't even know where to start, you might need a lot more than just training. You might need some serious hand-holding, some really A to Z, how do I do this? What does this look like? You might need some in-person training. Like everyone falls on a different part of the spectrum with how much help they need. Christian and I at Everything Senior Insurance, we see this all the time when agents reach out to us. Some of you need a lot of support, and we try to give you everything you can possibly need. And others come to us and they're like, hey, we just want a discount on leads and better contracts. What can you do for us? And they don't want any support, really. And so the conversation needs to start from the beginning. If you're coming into this and you don't really know, you're not really communicating that, I think that's where a lot of these relationships go bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree.
What do you think? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's do it.
Just for the sake of getting to all the questions.
Amy has a question here. Do you get all the leads at one time or throughout the months? This is a great question, Amy. So at Lead Heroes, when you order a batch of leads, if you don't communicate anything to us, you don't say anything, we're going to facilitate that order like it's an all at once order. If you order 25 leads, we're going to try to fulfill those 25 leads as quickly as possible. if we hit a snag where we can't generate all of those all at once, like we don't have enough area, as an example, you're in just this one county and you just want to stay in this county, then you might get those naturally over time. If you want to plan ahead and reach out to us and let us know, hey, I only want 5 a week or 10 a week, or only want 5 a day, 10 per day, we can structure that and schedule that so they're being delivered to you in a timely manner and kind of batch those out. So, great question, Amy. I appreciate that one.
I want to read this next one, if I may.
Yeah, do it. Do it.
Because I think it's a good question. And so, Glenn, why don't you promote your book? It's so informative, and it's my go-to book. My colleagues purchased it and found it a great tool for agents and all levels of experience. Funny, the reason I wanted to read it was because, so we just moved my in-office studio the other day to a different room, which involves moving all my books. On my bookshelf is your book. And so I'm going through it. I'm like, hey, and I'm showing our employees. I'm like, hey, this is Glenn's book. Did you know Glenn had a book? And most of them are like, no, we had no idea. Da, 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 da. And so it's just kind of funny.
You know what it is, and that's funny that someone asked this. And the other funny part is I was thinking about this recently, and Christian and I just had a conversation about marketing like this past week. When you're marketing something and you're constantly pushing it out there, you're sending emails, you're talking about it all the time, you're running paid ads, you start to feel like there's this depth perception that's almost impossible to know, where you start to question, have I hit a saturation point? Are people sick of hearing about something? Whether it could be like the Turning 65, lead promotion we're doing at Lead Heroes right now. It could be my book, which is right there. It's on my shelf. It's right there. I haven't talked about it in a while though. And I would love to talk about it. We had talked about it at the summit this year because Christian also has several books. We're talking about each kind of picking one of our books and maybe getting like 100 copies to give away to you guys at the summit. I really appreciate you bringing that up. I think this is a great sign. This means I do need to talk about it more.
That's right.
It's also a little dated, I guess. That might be part of it too. It was published in 2016, September 2016. So the content, I think, almost a decade, which is wild. The content is still great. Like the scripts and tips, there's so much valuable information in there. Some of it is dated for sure, like Plan F, right? There's a lot of talk about Plan F in there that's irrelevant now because you can't sell Plan F anymore. But I definitely think we'll bring it back. I'm bringing it back. It's coming back, baby.
Yeah. The other thing too about the books, right? Like, both of us have given away so many free copies of the books, especially at the summits, right? Like,
yes, we have.
I don't know how many copies of your book in particular we've given away at various different summits over the years, but it's got to be hundreds of copies.
A few hundred. A few hundred, I would say.
So that might be part of it too. Like for me personally, anytime I've given something away a lot for free or I kind of get this feeling that like anybody that would want it has it already. So that might be part of it, but I think that's a great question. All right, the great Becky Real has a good question.
We're cruising. Let's go.
Yes. All right.
Keep
so Becky,
coming, you guys.
Becky asked if you had the opportunity to speak with a lot of your clients in a fun, relaxed setting, client appreciation event, and said you were going to chat with them about the state of Medicare, what would you say to them? FYI, we are doing this the beginning of June and are working on what we want to share. Wonderful question. I love it.
Great question.
So there's a lot going on, of course, in the industry, but not all of it is going to be relevant for clients, right? So you got to pick and choose, in my opinion, what is actually relevant to them. Like an example, right? We haven't talked about this yet on the show, but we probably will next week. Allstate slashing commissions on their MedSup product in a bunch of states. Do seniors need to know that? No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do seniors need to know about Anthem making all their Medicare Advantage plans non-commissionable with the exception of D-SNPs? Probably not, right? Like those are agent things. What I would probably talk to them about is things going on from a regulation, not a regulation, but um, uh, a bill standpoint that's affecting their plans, right? Like, so I think doing a lot of education on prescription drug plan changes this year, even though a lot of them probably went through that during AEP, a lot of them probably still don't understand what's different opposed to in years past, right? So talking about the $2,000 cap, talking about what contributes getting into it, right? Talking about all of that stuff. I think talking about if you want to do this might, you might have some med sup clients in the audience and it might spook them a little bit. So maybe you don't want to talk about this too much, but talking about med sup rate increases we're seeing all over the place, right? Like,
yeah,
things like that are going to impact them. And then maybe making a forecast of what you think this upcoming AEP might look like and why. Because, a lot of people are saying this upcoming AEP could be round 2 of last year. A lot of market shifts and things like that. So I would really focus on like what is going on that's affecting their plans and why it's happening from an unbiased perspective as much as possible. Sometimes like people feel like you're getting into a political stance about that, but you have to just paint it and be like, this bill was passed this day and this is why, and this is what's happening. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but this you make your own decision on that, right?
Yeah, this is what's going on. I'm just telling you the info.
Right. That's usually been my approach when it comes to clients. I will do everything I can to steer away from any political talks on either side. Even if I agree with them, I won't usually let them know that.
I think there's a lot of fear among seniors about Medicare and the future of Medicare, and a lot of it's just the internet and the clickbait culture we live in today. I'm trying to stay alive during this 2-hour special, so apologies for snacking here, you guys.
We're not even halfway.
I know.
Not even halfway.
I know. I talked to a senior. Again, was one of those things. By the way, this past weekend, I pitched you aside to my neighbor. I wanted to tell you that. 88 years old. Apparently, he spends a lot of his time in a recliner playing Call of Duty, which I'm just like, wow.
Call of Duty?
88? Yes! 88 years old. His son got him an Xbox. And he's playing, and I'm just like, I need to just go over there, and we just need to shoot some zombies together. I gotta go play Call of Duty with this dude, 88 years old. Amazing. But last time I was talking to a senior, and it came up like, Glenn, what do you do? I own a Medicare agency, and then we were talking about Medicare, and there was a ton of concern from this senior about the future of Medicare. I'm really scared what it's going to look like. Will it still be here? I've paid into it for so many years. And if I don't have access to my Medicare, I don't know how I can, support my health needs without Medicare. And so me personally, I would definitely spend some time trying to calm people down and reassuring them, because there's probably a lot of fear, I would imagine. What do you think about that, Mr. Brindle?
Yeah, I would agree. I would just, I think any message that you bring, I think it needs to come from a place of, these are things that's going on. Thankfully, you have me. And in your case, Becky, like, thankfully you have Keith and I. And, we are going to be here to stay on top of it, keep you informed as new developments come out. And, we're here to make sure that if your plan is no longer viable for you, that we're on top of it. And we are, getting you moved to a plan that is viable for you. And, we will get you through any type of market disruptions that we're seeing. And it's almost like a way to kind of reiterate how valuable what you do for them is.
Love it.
Because there's been plenty of years where changes were relatively mild, right? Like there probably wouldn't be all that much for someone to do in a lot of markets, right? Like, your plan changes ever so slightly. We saw several AEPs like that, to where sometimes it's easy for them to forget how important you might be in terms of that. I mean, I know, Becky, you and Keith do great customer service all year round, so you might not have that feeling as much from your clients, but it's an opportunity to just really reinforce the value that you provide as their agents.
Yep. Yeah. Which, we talked a little bit about this lawsuit that got filed by the Department of Justice this week. same type of situation where you can leverage that. You know, if you're talking to a senior, talking to a client, talking to a prospect, and that comes up, right? That's in the news and they see it and they want to talk to you about it. And they're trying to spin it like you're a bad guy because you're a Medicare broker. And look at these brokers, they're in trouble. And that's the angle. That's the angle is, you know, I'm an independent agent. I'm here locally and you're lucky. I can actually really help you. I can keep you from being steered by some of these bigger organizations. You know, I love that.
All right. Other Becky is what I'm going to refer to her as.
Other Becky
had a clarifying question to her earlier question about the FMO and training, which is great. So yeah, she asks, I guess what should I expect when I'm being trained by a local agency? I feel like I was sent out into the field to figure it out on my own.
Welcome to the industry.
So I would expect from a local agency, like they're providing one of two things. One, they're providing a setting where you can go and get in-person training on what you should be doing, how to do a presentation, right? How to book appointments, all of that stuff. How to be compliant on your appointments, how to be compliant on your appointment setting, all of those things, how to get leads. And if they're not doing that, they're providing a way for you to tap into something online, right? Like an online curriculum. Like we have Seven Figure University. I would argue is better than any FMO training you're ever going to find, biased. But
it's so comprehensive. It's crazy.
Yeah. So like our agents, I always tell them, like, if they don't know what to do and they have access to that, I will immediately go look to see how much they've logged in. Oftentimes, you know, they either haven't logged in or they've only gone through one or two videos. So like I have something to point to where I'm like, you have this at your fingertips and you're not using it. Why? You know, it sounds like your FMO probably doesn't have anything quite like that. And if that's the case, and they're just expecting you to just figure it out with no guidance and no training and none of that stuff, it might be time to find a new one, would be my thought.
I mean, this really connects with me because I was essentially thrown to the wolves after very little training. I got contracted with like 2 carriers. I got a couple days of training, and then it was like, here you go. Here's some old leads. You know, here's the appointment setting script. Here's the presentation script. And I remember, like, every time I'd have a question, a lot of times the answer I would get would be, yeah, just memorize the presentation script. Just go home, read the presentation script 100 times, memorize that. You'll be fine. And I remember being like, man, this seems like I'm missing something here. You know, if I could go back in time and if I could have, well, what I probably would have liked to have done is had a bit more hands-on training at the beginning. Eventually I did figure it out, and it took a lot of trial and error, and it took a lot of just kind of my own experience of trying to get through it. When it comes to, you know, objections I would get on the phone when I'm setting appointments, objections when I'm in the house, you know, dealing with a carrier, dealing with an underwriter, you know, having an issue come up where someone gets tabled or someone gets declined. And there's all of these things that, you know, none of this was trained or even mentioned, you know, up front. I got very little basic training. So, you know, in a perfect world, right, you get a lot of hands-on training. Maybe you get some days where you get to shadow someone in the field, or if you're selling over the phone, you know, you get to shadow someone selling over the phone. But that's not always the case. And mileage will vary based on the agency. I think having a resource where outside business hours, you can invest some of your own time, you know, like an online library of training, some video training, because that's where you can really get better quickly is those outside hours. You know, how quickly can you get to 10,000 hours? Christian and I have talked about this on the podcast before. You know, that's where true experience comes in, and you can really start to make some money and to have a career here in the industry. It took me about 9 months, you guys, and I was really grinding. You know, I was really putting in, I was all in. You know, I was doing everything I can to be successful. I was working on the weekends, I was working at nights. And it still, I wasn't like comfortable or felt like I really knew what I was doing for almost 9 months. So part part of it, the agency might be able to do more for you. Part of it is you might be able to do more for yourself and put in some more time in some of these different off hours and just be a sponge. Just soak it up from every angle you can. I mean, that would be my opinion.
Yep. I love it. All right. What's next?
Let's keep cranking. Lester gets a shout out from Lead Heroes. Mr. Lester.
Love you, Lester.
Hope you're listening, Lester. We love you.
Love you, adopted son.
Oh, stepson.
Stepdad
son by marriage.
Stepdad has an affinity for you, son.
Okay. Oh, he liked it. He's listening. He's like, you got a heart from your stepson. We got another hour of this, you guys. You lucky dogs. You lucky dogs. 100 episodes. All right, let's see. Another question here. If I buy a lead, this is from Sharon. If I buy a lead, how much does the prospect know? And are they expecting your call? How do you start the conversation? What would be even better? We'll take a second. We'll definitely answer this. We'll go through this. There's also a great resource. Christian actually filmed himself calling the Turning 65 leads from Lead Heroes. It's about a 45-minute to an hour video, and it's so insightful.
It's like an hour and actually almost a half, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know when I reacted to it, it was 90 minutes, but I wasn't sure if mine was longer.
I wanted to make sure I'm not.
It's at least, I think it's at least an hour. Maybe drop the link. Drop the link in the chat since you're looking. How much does a prospect know? So this is what the prospect knows. They know that they're going to be turning 65. They're confirming that they need help and that they want to speak to an agent and that they are planning on enrolling in Medicare and not staying on group coverage. So, again, you have to realize, and for newer agents, sometimes I think I forget that they don't understand the turning 65 market necessarily. And it took me some time to understand it too. But when someone is 6 months out from turning 65, they are being marketed to by everybody. Everybody and their mom is marketing to these individuals. The financial advisors are trying to get access to their retirement, so they'll market Medicare. It's kind of a smoke and mirrors approach. Then you've got the big call centers trying to sell to them over the phone. You've got the local agents, and then potentially you, wherever you fit into this paradigm. Well, I remember this was years ago. It's probably gotten worse, but I remember sitting down with a prospect and they said, let me show you all the letters I've gotten, Glenn. And I actually sat there and I counted and I wanted to know, they had 45 letters, 45 pieces of mail for prospecting, pitching them. I can help you with your Medicare. So you have to keep that in mind. Like, these people know they have this big milestone coming and they know they need help with it. They know they have to do it. They know they need help with it. So when you pick up the phone and you're talking to them, they're like, oh yeah, I did get that call the other day. I do need help with my Medicare. So that's what they're kind of expecting. Now, how would you start the conversation, Christian? What do you think is the best way for a conversation starter?
I guess, just to make sure I'm answering the question right, like, is it like your intro when you call the lead? Is that what you mean?
I think intro. How do you start it, right? Because a lot of people might know the presentation, but that intro is where they really get stuck.
Yeah, my introduction and my scripting when I'm calling leads has for years been polarizing. I break a lot of rules of what people say you shouldn't do, but I also sell more insurance than most of them, or I did when I was selling, that tell you not to do that. So, my introduction really kind of, especially when you're calling a lead, I feel like this really needs to be in place no matter what type of lead you're calling, no matter how it's generated. But, you want to be quick and to the point. You want to avoid sounding like a salesperson, even though they're going to find out eventually in that conversation that you are a salesperson. People don't like that term, but you're a salesperson. But you want to avoid it right off the bat because you want to make sure that they give you enough time to get your stick out, your message. So like my introduction, a lot of you guys have heard it for years. When I'm calling a lead, I'm calling up, I'm saying, hi, is this Betty? Hi, Betty. My name is Christian. I'm not saying This is Christian with Everything Senior Insurance. I might do that if it's a really specific marketing campaign that, is heavily branded for us. Like there's exceptions to that. But with most leads, I'm not going to say that because this is basically what they're hearing. This is Christian with handy dandy insurance, like take your pick. Like you just sound like a solicitor. So I'm going to say, hi, Betty. I'm never last names, never Mrs. Jones or whatever. No one calls them Mrs. Jones in their day-to-day life. I'm going to say, hi, Betty. This is Christian. The reason for my call today, Betty, is the other day you spoke with one of my associates who mentioned that a local specialist was going to be getting back in touch with you about Medicare changes in your area to see if you qualify for any additional benefits. That's me. I'm that local specialist. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions to determine if I can be of any service? I'm going right into the fact find.
You know what I love about that, by the way, is if you watched Wolf of Wall Street and you're watching Jordan Belfort, obviously is being played by Leonardo DiCaprio, but you're watching that script. He's calling direct mail leads. He's sitting at a desk. That's the exact intro. Yeah. The reason for the call today, John, you sent something back to us in the mail asking for more information. Do you remember doing that? And the prospect's like, oh, yeah, I think so. And then, boom, just off to the races. Like, that's it. Just be direct. Get to the point. Get to the point.
I think you guys underestimate how much people actually like somebody that gets to the point and not waste their time. We talked on yesterday's show, I think it was, about people calling up and being like, how's the weather today where you are? Like, shut up. Don't ask them that question. Get to the point. You know what I mean? I've had people like listen to my script before from afar, and they'll be like, Sales 101, you don't ask them questions like that. I'm like, why? Who told you that? Who taught you that? That's dumb. You want to get them talking to you. You want to get them responding to you.
Yeah.
You want them interacting with you. Like if you go back and watch that video of me calling leads that I put in the chat of the Facebook group, I'm asking tons of questions. And guess what happens? There was several occasions where there's a lead that's trying to get off the phone with me from the get-go, and they end up on the phone with me for a pretty extent period of time. Some of them resulted in apps. And they didn't want to talk to me from the get-go because I'm maneuvering the call and I'm asking the right questions. And I'm getting them to talk to me. And that's a lot of having success with leads right there. Keeping them on the phone with you and getting them not to hang up on you. To kind of circle back on that, direct to the point, try to not sound like a salesperson, and understand that I said yesterday, I don't know what the exact time frame is, but I think you have somewhere between 6 to 10 seconds in your intro before they disconnect with you or rush you off the phone. So make it count.
Yeah, this is a little bit of beating a dead horse because we did talk about this yesterday. But again, I think keeping them on the phone and being direct, and the agents out there, and I've listened to so many phone calls over the past decade of doing this where it hurts. It physically hurts when I hear that intro. Hey, this is Glenn with Burial Life Insurance. I just wanted to give you a quick quote for insurance. Is that okay? I kid you not. I've heard that intro before and I fall over and I'm like, what are you saying? I'm like, what are you saying right now? 99.9% of people are going to hang up on that intro. That is the worst. And then of course they're like, oh, the leads suck. Everyone hung up on me. What's the worst leads I've ever seen? It's like, you literally have the worst introduction I've ever heard on a lead phone call script. Hey, Mrs. Jones, you responded about those burial benefits for seniors. I'm the licensed representative. I need to get this information out to you. Do you have a minute? I can go over this right now. Something super quick and to the point. And again, the key here is hitting the reason why they wanted info, right? That's the hook, right? Once you get that confirmation where they're like, you got that phone call the other day, you filled out that Facebook form, you sent in that mail piece. As soon as there's any type of confirmation about that original request, you're in. Like that's your in, and now you just keep them on the phone. You keep going, keep backfighting. But yeah, we kind of beat a dead horse there a little bit because we talked about that yesterday in episode 99. Let's move on. Let's go to our next one.
Yes. Okay, what do you see on the future generation getting into the business? I love this question. I'm 61 and tried to get younger folks in the business. And once they learn all the testing they need to do yearly, they are not interested, my sons included. I have plenty to say about that one. Do you want to start with that one, or do you want me to start with that one?
I think, and again, this is something we've discussed before. I mean, I guess we probably 100 episodes, guys. We've probably discussed everything at this point. How do we fill hundreds of hours of talk time? We've already talked about all of it. My first thought when hearing this question is, Christian and I, from early on in our careers, have heard the end of Medicare is around the corner. There's no money in Medicare. Medicare is going away.
Since I was a kid, literally.
Right.
Since I was
before,
like 5.
Yeah. You go back further than me on this, but I avoided Medicare for years because I was being fed those lines. At this point in time, the intermediate future, so 2 to 5 years out from right now, I feel very strong that it is going to be a positive experience for pretty much all agents. We are still experiencing the baby boomer retirement phenomena. The silver tsunami is still happening right now. There is plenty of this wave left for agents to jump in and have a ton of success. I don't know if there's some Chicken Little feelings behind. Are you getting that? Like, is there concern that the industry is going to be changing? Is that what you're getting from this question? Maybe I'm misreading this.
No, I'm not reading it that way. I'm more reading it as like what she's seeing is when younger generations are presented with the opportunity to enter the space, they don't want to do it because of all the hurdles that go with it, like getting licensed, like doing AHIP, like all of that stuff, right? Compliance.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the way I'm reading it. So
I may have misread this a little bit then.
So for me, I would say that I don't think that is necessarily just a younger generation thing. I think there's always been people that would be scared away from that in every generation.
True.
So I don't think it's necessarily just a younger generation thing. I think the license, the certifications, the compliance, all of that comes with what we do, that almost weeds out the people that aren't serious versus the ones that are. You know what I mean? It's like the barrier to entry, and the barrier to entry is to filter out people that just don't belong here in the space. It doesn't do a perfect job because plenty of people that don't belong still get through and end up in the space. But I would think, if someone can't see the upside and they're scared away by those things, they're probably just not cut out for it, right? Because if they can't handle a licensing exam, if they can't handle certifications, all of that stuff, they're not going to be able to handle the grind of what it is to try to build a client base from nothing. They're not going to be able to do that.
This is more along the lines of like that lack of sexiness of being an insurance agent. I mean, everyone wants to be a professional sports player, right? Everybody wants that multi-million-dollar contract, and they get to play a sport and they're famous and all that, blah blah blah. But nobody wants to be an insurance agent. In fact, Tom Brady, that interview kills me every time, where he's sobbing. Tom Brady, the famous Patriots quarterback, he's sobbing. He's like, I thought I was gonna have to sell insurance, and then the
I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think
You've never seen this video?
No. I got a live reaction to that sometime.
No,
send it to me. Send it to me after
Bro,
the show. Send it to me after the show.
I might have to pull it up. I can't. I posted it before. How have you not seen this?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know how.
It was like his first year in the NFL, and he's sobbing because he got licensed and he was selling insurance. I think it was life insurance.
How do I not know this? How do I not know this? Okay, I gotta Send me the video after the show. I want to watch it, and then maybe we live
I might
react
pull.
to it
We might
next
live
week.
react before the end of this, but
okay, we'll see if we have time.
Again, that's the perception, right? The perception is that like this is not a sexy career, and a lot
that
of the
was
younger
my perception.
generation. Yeah,
like
sure.
I had a parent in the business who was a top performer, right? Would win top producer trips.
Yeah.
It wasn't sexy to me. It was boring. It was dull. Yeah. That was my perception of it throughout my whole childhood. I'm like, oh, that's just what dad does. And I mean, you hear lots of people in the industry. It's kind of become a cliche of sorts, but people always seem to work it into their presentations as it's original. And they thought of the joke and they're like, and they're like, no one grows up wanting to be an insurance agent, in their presentation. I'm like, yeah, I heard that one 6,000 times, bub. But it's true, right? Nobody grows up wanting to be an insurance agent that I know. I still have never met that person. So it might have more to do with that than anything, right? Like you don't really understand what this business is and what type of vehicle it can be until you're in it. I probably didn't really get it until I was already in a little bit. I kind of knew. I probably knew more than most new people did, but not to the degree that of what it probably really is. So I think that has more to do with it than anything. This episode of the 7 Figures or Bust podcast is brought to you by Everything Senior Insurance. Guys, if you're looking for an FMO in 2025 to be a partner with you and really support the overall growth of your business, Everything Senior Insurance is the one-stop shop to allow you to get plugged in with great resources. Whether it's ACA contracts you're looking for, whether it's Medicare contracts you're looking for, whether it's final expense and life contracts that you're looking for, Everything Senior Insurance has got you covered. We provide a free CRM in 7-figure CRM to all of our agents that meet the proper requirements on their contracting and have enough contracts with us. We provide discounted leads with Lead Heroes, discounted virtual assistants with Hire Heroes, and we provide just year-round support to just be there and help you out in your business, as well as fantastic training. Glenn, what do people need to know about Everything Senior Insurance, the FMO?
At Everything Senior Insurance, we've really combined all of our resources to create an FMO that can be a true one-stop shop for a senior insurance agent. Most FMOs have only maybe one resource or even no resources beyond offering that contract. We want to provide value to you as an agent to help you grow your book of business. Or if you want to create an agency, we want to help you grow your agency. And there's so many resources that we have put together to really help you grow your business. So if you are looking for a true partnership, someone that will invest in your business, please reach out to Everything Senior Insurance. We would love to help you grow.
Thanks for listening to this message. And now back to the show.
We talked about this actually during our top producer trip a little bit. We're with some of our top producers, and this topic came up, right? Children getting involved in agencies. And I was joking about how I think my kids think this is like the most absurd and boring thing ever, what dad does, and there's a little bit of I think you don't want to force your kids in either. You don't want to be like, you're not going to college. You're going to insurance school, baby. You don't want to be that.
That's what I'll be doing. That's what I'll be doing. I'm not paying for no college. Get out of here.
I'm just saying, college is synonymous with their future, right? Like, I don't want to tell my kids, like, you have to get your insurance license.
I've already told one of my kids that.
One of you don't even have your second one. You're like, little broker, how are you?
Your future is written. Okay, I told her that the other day. She's like, okay, Dad. Okay.
Yeah, give her 7 years when she hits teenage years. Good luck. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out for you.
Rapunzel, let down your underwriting guide.
All right, really fast, you guys. We're going to take a quick break from questions. I've got to show Christian this video. This is just too good. This literally is like one of the all-time greatest videos here. Can you see my screen, good sir?
Now I can.
Okay.
Can
you hear the audio?
Walk with my dad.
Yeah.
Around the block. It was just a day, I just remember being there with my mom and dad.
No.
Sorry about that.
Oh, come on.
They just were so supportive of me.
What?
And they take it as emotional as I do.
What?
And finally when the Patriots called, I was so excited. I was like, I don't have to be an insurance salesman, So, my family and they were all excited.
No!
Have you never seen that? You want to talk? You want to talk about a problem we have as a PR of the persona of selling insurance? We've got a minute video of Tom Brady sobbing. He can't even talk. He's so choked up because he's like,
thought he'd have to be an agent.
The Patriots called and thank the Lord, I don't have to sell insurance ever again.
I was saved from a life of hell.
We've got to look up his insurance license at some point.
Wow.
How have you not seen that? That's
Never one
crazy
time. Oh wow,
that's crazy. That you haven't seen it.
My gosh.
I loved your reaction as he's choked up. You're like, this can't be. This can't be.
That's not where this is going. It can't be. It can't be.
That is. He was so scared of selling insurance, he became one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL of all time. That was his motivation. He's like, I'm not selling another policy. He's like, well, 42.
Tom, you're 43 now. You're a 6-time Super Bowl champion. Many consider you the greatest football player of all time. What is your drive? What keeps you going? Well, I really don't want to sell insurance.
I would pay so much money for a little backstory, like a quick little 3-minute interview from him. Like, what happened, Tom? What was your experience in the industry?
Wow. I can't believe that tape exists.
It's real. It's real. Look it up.
Wow.
I'm so glad.
I mean, if we need anything else to put a cap on that question, right? Like, there's right there. Like,
right. That's what I'm saying.
The perception is not cool or sexy or lucrative. It's like, oh, I hit rock bottom. Time to sell insurance.
Oh my gosh, Tom. How could you do that to us, Tom?
Wow. All right, let's move on. That was great. That was great. I can't believe I've never seen that before.
You haven't either. Oh man, 100th episode, you guys. This is incredible. Okay, moving right along here. Some great shout outs for the YouTube channel. Guys, Google Christian Brindle or 7-Figure on YouTube. It's incredible the amount of content that's on there. It really is. If you want more information, you want to learn more about how to sell insurance, that's all Tom Brady needed was 7-Figure University, and it would have changed his career around.
His perspective.
That's right. We got a question here about the turning 65 leads. Sorry if I missed this, but are the leads 3 to 6 months out? So the rough window we shoot for is 2 to 5 months, but it could be on the high end, so it could be closer to 6, could be closer to 2. Trying to catch those people right at the right time, but it's not perfect. But great question. Got a question from the infamous Andrew Lee. Shout out to the California
Yes.
Agents Facebook group, guys. If you're in California and you want to be in the know on what's going on in the insurance world,
The
make sure
Messiah of California
No.
Medicare and ACA sales.
Here's his question. This is a great one. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah.
What do you perceive as a better agent experience? Final expense agent into Medicare or Medicare into ACA?
Man, that's a great question. What do you think?
Yeah, that is. Historically, what I can tell you, especially after being in the industry as long as I have, I've seen so many final expense agents transition into Medicare. It's insane. And almost every time what I've seen happen is life insurance sales is tough. It's Tom Brady tough, guys. You get out there. There's a lot of no's, a lot of people not interested, a lot of people can't afford it. Not everybody can sell life insurance. And so, people get licensed, they get all excited to be an agent, they fail out of selling life insurance and they don't know what to do next. And I've seen so many agents get into Medicare and have a really successful career. So I would say I can't necessarily speak as much to the Medicare and the ACA side, though. I would imagine that feels more parallel to me. Like final expense to Medicare is like a night and day. It's very different.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot more similarities.
Yeah,
with Medicare to ACA than probably Medicare to final expense or vice versa. So, I would say, if you're talking agent experience, I think it's easier for a Medicare agent to learn ACA and take that on into their repertoire than maybe a final expense agent to learn Medicare. Although there have been a lot of really great Medicare producers that started with final expense and then moved into Medicare later. But I think if you just looked at like simplicity of learning from an agent perspective, I think the ACA is a lot more similar. So I'd lean towards that for that reason.
awesome. Great question. Appreciate you, Andrew. Again, shout out California Agent Facebook group. If you search California Insurance Agent or California Agents, should pop right up for you guys. Moving right along here. Kathy has an objection. And I'll ask you this. If they tell you they never filled out anything, I didn't fill anything out.
Good question. Great question.
That is a great question, and it's super common. This is a super common objection. I've held direct mail leads to someone's face before with their signature on it, and they are acting like they didn't fill it out. So this happens all the time.
But you can't do that on a telemarketed lead, right? So what would your advice be to combat that if, let's say, it was a T65 lead?
Sure. A lot of times I'm swimming past it, like just an NFL defensive lineman, one slip, and I'm already behind enemy lines.
You're Ray Lewis in it?
Yes. And I'm heading for the quarterback. So something I would say, right, is like, hey, Mrs. Jones, you got that phone call the other day about turning 65. I'm the Medicare agent to help you. I never filled anything. I never talked to anybody. Well, again, according to my information here, it looks like you are turning 65. That's correct. And so basically, I'm not going to fight with them over it, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, Mrs. Jones, let's listen to the phone call right now. I'm going to play it
yes,
for
you did.
You're lying to me. Are you a liar? I'm not going to do that,
You a liar? Does your wife know you're a liar? Put her on the phone.
But I say that because some of you, I've known agents over the years who will do that. They'll get into like screaming matches with prospects over stupid stuff like this. And I'm just like, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time and energy on this. I've already got you on the phone. You know what I'm here to talk to you about, right? And I'm basically moving past it. That's my move. Is I'm just like, well, according to my information here, it looks like you're turning 65 in September. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, great. Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion, is, downplay it as much as possible. I might try just one tiny little mention of something to try to remind them, be like, oh, well, my records show you talked to Mary on Tuesday. Sure. And she mentioned that I'd be giving you a call. So you're turning 65, right? Like, I'm trying to get around it. I'm not trying to put a lot of emphasis in it. I'm trying to avoid definitely getting baited into the argument of that.
Yes.
So you're telling me you lie? You have a bowl of lies for breakfast this morning. Would you like milk with your lies?
Here at my agency, we call buyers liars. You're a liar, man. I'm telling you, there are some, especially on the final expense side, not to call out FE agents, but I know some FE agents who've gotten into like screaming matches with prospects before. I'm just like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is crazy.
Thing. I want to do a video of me like it'd be a funny video, like, calling leads badly.
Yeah. Yes.
Doing all this stuff on purpose. Like somebody's like, I didn't fill this out. Oh, well, I see on my record. Well, it's funny you say that. I see on my notes here that you're full of lies.
You should call Jake. Call Jake on the phone. Jake's like, hello, Christian. You're like, you remember filling out this form, Jake? What are you talking about? Just blast him. Record the whole thing. Okay. Kathy, that was kind of a long-winded answer there.
Sorry, Kathy, but that
I
got a little off the rails there. But hopefully that provides some value.
I think we did. I think there's some great one from Ryan here. Why don't you take this one?
I use that script. It works well and to the point. And yeah, so I saw a couple people mention, Glenn mentioned as well, like straight line system. I took definitely pieces of that script and worked it in 100%. Like the reason for the call today, portion of it for sure. That's straight out of that. And I've kind of tweaked it a little bit to make it my own. But yeah, I mean, you could call that insurance straight line script. Really, like legitimately.
Yeah.
So it definitely works. I have been having issues with the T65 leads picking up the phone. Should I be putting the T65 leads on a drip email or text? Yes, I would highly recommend it.
Yes.
I'm sure you're doing this already, but if you're not, I would be trying to call them 4, 5, 6, 7 times as well, different times of the day. I'd be trying to call them as soon as they come in to the best of your ability. But yeah, I think the additional thing you can do to get your contact rate up is putting them in an automation and dripping on them. There are some Lead Heroes automations in the CRM right now. Actually, no, I don't think you ever give anyone was ever given access to them. We have some that are coming out in the next week or two. Literally, like we're putting the finishing touches on them.
We are.
I built some T65 or some Lead Heroes automations, and then they never saw the light of day.
We are very, very, very close to having those uploaded into everybody's sub account. We're doing some testing right now. We want to make sure everything's working correctly before we upload those. We will have hundreds of automation drips going into seven-figure CRM. But again, the key point, the key point here, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, Ryan, is like contact rate's everything, and whatever you need to do to get that contact rate up, 80% is always like the target I put on the wall. Like the closer you can get to 80%, if you get above it, incredible. If you're at 60, 70%, great. You got to get them on the phone some way, somehow. Call them on the weekends, call them at night, call them 5 to 10 times, whatever you can do to get a hold of them.
And here's the thing with Lead Hero leads. Here's the thing with Lead Hero leads that I feel like makes the intent so much better than so many other types of leads, direct mail leads, Facebook leads, internet leads. They have answered the phone within the last 24 hours. So like, your chances of getting them on the phone are higher because they literally answered for the Lead Heroes caller.
That's right.
So that they're capable of picking up.
Right.
And that
doesn't mean they're going to pick up on the first call though, but they are, you got the right number and they're capable of answering. Absolutely.
Great question from Miss Jackie Shepard. How many insurance agents are millionaires? What would you think, Mr. Glenn?
Is this something you think we can like give it a goog or maybe ask the old AI sky, computer in the sky and get an answer? I'll guess. Wait, before you ask, I want you to guess too. Don't cheat.
Okay.
Don't cheat.
I'm pulling it up, but I'm not asking yet.
So I've always heard that the financial sector, insurance and like financial advisors, like we create more millionaires than like almost any other industry. So if I had to guess specifically insurance agents, how many are millionaires? I'm going to say there's a lot of millionaires, I think, in America, especially with inflation today. I'm going to throw a number out here, and I could be way off mark here. I'm going to say there are 20,000 millionaire insurance agents. That's my number. 20K.
So, are we narrowing this down to all insurance or just
all insurance?
Okay. I would say
our
if it's
PNC
all
brothers.
Insurance, there's a lot of PNC agents out there. I'd say 100,000.
Okay. You might be right.
Because there's millions and millions and millions of agents if you go into all lines.
Yeah, but most agents don't really sell anything.
Right. You're right. But, it doesn't take that much to be a millionaire these days. Like it depends on your definition of a millionaire, I guess.
That's true. That's another great question.
Most people think about the definition of a millionaire as you make $1 million a year. That is not the technical definition. The technical definition is your net worth is $1 million. So like your assets, you liquidate everything you own, your house, investments, savings accounts, possessions,
equity,
whatever.
Yep.
And would it equal $1 million? Technically, you're a millionaire. So that's why I think okay, let's ask what percentage of insurance agents are millionaires? ChatGPT, here we go.
Did you say percent or total? We need hard numbers.
Oh, I said
here.
Percentage.
Of course you did. Gosh.
Okay,
I'm curious what the percent is. Yeah, ask again.
Give me an estimated number. Total number.
There you go.
It didn't even answer the question. It just basically told me that 90% suck and fail. Or
we already knew that. Yeah.
It said as much as 95% if you go off of 5 years.
We have a client named Tom Brady. He's the best. That's wild. Tom Brady. Everybody. There's a lot of Tom Brady chat in here. I'm using that for my recruitment efforts. You're welcome. I thought everyone knew that video. I thought that was like an industry staple. I thought everyone, but seeing that Christian hadn't seen it before, clearly a lot of you had not. Jackie says insurance needs a PR person. Yes, we do. All right, what's the number?
So it wants to give a disclaimer that the precise data of insurance agents that are millionaires is not readily available and impossible to get down to the number. It estimates there are approximately 535,704 insurance sales agents in the United States. That sounds low to me.
That sounds a little low. I'm estimating over 1 million.
It said that was based off 2022. I don't think that number's right. 1% of insurance agents become millionaires. That would equate to 5,357 based on the 535,000 total agents.
Boom!
I don't believe it though. Sorry, ChatGPT.
Don't question the robot in the sky, my dude. It will kill you one day. Okay, so
Skynet.
It could be as much as 10,000. Again, I think it's impossible to know the exact number, and then it's like liquidating everyone's assets is like, and then you have like the value of an asset could be debatable. So I think it's a very subjective answer there. That's hysterical, man. We might have to just do a reacts episode where we each get some videos in our pocket and we take turns reacting.
That would be a good episode. It'd be a good show.
Yes, there's a lot of questions about my book. I have one up here at my desk. I used to. I'm gonna have to grab a copy. Hold, please. Let's stand again too.
While he's doing that, you guys, I will quickly tell you.
Yes.
That my nose is really itchy. I'm trying to get out what
allergies are so bad right now.
So some of you have asked some questions about the Seven Figure Medicare Agent Summit. We noticed today that our payment link on the website wasn't working, so that should be fixed by the end of the day. There are still tickets available. I estimate, without looking, somewhere between 20 to 25 before we're totally sold out. So you can still get tickets, but also if you want a ticket, you're trying to get a ticket, there are probably discounted tickets of people that all of a sudden can't come for whatever reason. So if you search the Facebook group for that, connect to those people and buy their ticket off of them. You can probably get it for less, or you can just buy a ticket on the website once we get that fixed. But there are still some tickets left. Not many. Event will sell out like it always does. Yeah, we're 45 days away. So
yes. Yes, not many tickets left. We will make sure that link's working here before the end of today. Really fast, here is my book. Got a few questions about it on the stream today. How to qualify, present, and sell final expense and Medicare supplements to seniors. You can find this on Amazon. You can either search my name or search the title of the book. It's about 300 pages. I believe you can get it for just $10. We surveyed hundreds of agents. We took the top responses and asked them what tips and scripts they had that made them successful, and then kind of combined it into 15 different chapters. And again, my favorite part of how this book came out is like the specific scripts from the agents, because everyone says things a little bit different. And so it's always really cool to be like, well, how does someone else say this? And I, again, as an agent, that was something that I always loved, is like getting that type of feedback from my peers. Like, well, how would you say, how would you overcome this objection? So check it out.
Yes, absolutely. All right, moving on. I want to make sure that we have time to answer those questions that weren't on the stream as well.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 as well of those.
There's still some more in the chat though. Let's keep moving. Becky asked, I haven't heard much about the list of negotiated drugs that are supposed to be capped for 2026. Any update? I haven't heard anything about that, to be honest with you. Doesn't mean it's not something out there. I just haven't paid as close of attention to it. So I don't have any info on that. Do you?
I have not heard anything. I'm assuming we'll know more soon, though. I mean, I love Dalton. I also hate him for giving us a countdown to AEP. I don't know if you saw that in his group.
No,
He's
I
like,
didn't.
He's like, hey guys, 163 days from today. So I was like, don't, Dalton, now. So we're I think today it's probably like 160 days.
When we see him in Salt Lake, we're gonna have to smack him on the nose with a newspaper. Bad.
No.
You don't drop that here.
So we just have a few months. So I'm assuming we'll learn a lot more, like potentially some of these negotiated prices for prescription drugs, if there's any changes there.
Let's see. What do I do when they are 6 months out from turning 65? How do I not lose them while we wait for them to get A and B? There's only one good answer here, and that's find a way to follow up with them. You have to keep following up with them. What my best approach always was when I was dealing with T65 leads, and I would get this from seminars, I get this from Lead Hero leads, I get this from Facebook ads. Our practice internally still to this day is if they're too far out, we still meet with them, even if they can't do anything. We give them a basic rundown, a generic T65 presentation like we would for anyone. We're not going to get super deep into the specific plans unless they want to. But we're good. We're doing that to sell them on we are their go-to. We're their answer as they get closer. Some people will just say, yeah, you're too far out. Not really any point of us talking right now. So let me call you in 3 months. That's not the right answer. So
that's how you lose. That's
how you lose them. So do a presentation for them and get them committed to you, and then schedule a follow-up when they're 4 months out, and then maybe when they're 4 months out, you can start going into selecting specific plans, reviewing what you covered a few months prior, and then when you're 3 months out, you can write them. So
the key here, in my opinion, is staying in front of them, dripping on them. Maybe you send them a postcard. Maybe you call them every couple weeks, maybe you send them an email, like whatever it is, but staying in front of them, making sure they keep seeing your name or your agency name, I think is super important.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agents who do exactly what Christian said. Hey, I'll call you in 3 months. And then they never answer the phone again because they're already working with someone else. And you don't want to be that agent. Yeah.
That might be all the questions on the stream. I do not see any more.
Hey, we maybe finally caught up here. Okay. Good timing. So let me pull up. Keep the stream available. I'm gonna jump into these other questions we got. One of them is gonna be a bit of a doozy as far as it being a big one.
Okay.
So this is from Alex. Alex says, "I'd like to hear how you went from working as a solo agent, assuming you started out that way, to building an agency / downline. What was the first step?"
Man, I feel like this could be an hour
That's
answer.
right. I know. But this is a great one because there's a lot of agents out there who maybe they've had some success as an agent and they're already thinking, do I want to start an FMO? Do I want to start an agency? So I'd love to hear your answer to this.
Yeah. So to answer the first question, was that me? Most of you probably know my story, but yes, that was me. I was an individual street level agent selling, top producing street level agent for 6 years before doing anything else, before working with any other agents, before doing anything else. All I did was sell. And I was really good. I was a top producer for 6 carriers, most of them multiple times over. So I sold a lot of business, and I worked every type of lead under the sun. And so to answer the question about how did I transition from that into what we are today? So you look at us today, right? We have internal agents that sell for our company. We have a huge admin staff. We have an FMO side of the business that encompasses right now about 600 agents across the country. We have a lead company that we own. We have a virtual assistant company we own. In Hire Heroes, we have the summit. We have our courses and our trainings and our consult. So there's a lot going on, right? Like how did that happen? Well, for me, and I want to give you a chance to answer on your end as well, because I'm sure the story is a little different for Lead Heroes and Hire Heroes. But Lead Heroes and Hire Heroes for us came from a merger last year. So January 2024 merged, and my companies became combined with Glenn's companies, which were Lead Heroes and Hire Heroes. So that's where those came from. But in terms of like building out and hiring internal agents and hiring staff and starting the FMO side of our business and all those other things, it kind of happened gradually, to be honest with you. For me, everything was kind of one step at a time. So I think, I was selling, and then all of a sudden I started getting more involved in agent communities, a lot in the Facebook groups and things like that. And, I was kind of in my own little bubble for those first 6 years. I didn't really interact with anybody. I kind of was like a lone wolf and, running appointments and just writing a lot of business. And I was just under the assumption that a lot of agents were doing what I was doing. And I later found out, the more I got involved with other agents and, networking with other agents, that wasn't the case, that I was above average, as they say. And it started, I started to have agents coming to me and wanting to pick my brain. That was the thing I still get all the time. I need to pick your brain. Can I pick your brain? So at first in like 2019, 2020, I would do it. I would answer questions for free. I would do all this for free. To the point where it became one of those things where I was like, I'm not getting anything done because I'm like Mother Teresa right now. I'm giving to the world. I'm solving the world's problems, and I'm not making any money myself. From all that time invested. So I started first recruiting agents. I started taking on agents. I'm like, okay, if you want me to really work with you and really help you and give you access to what we're doing, you need to contract with us. So I put out our training, our university, after a couple months of that, because I realized that I was doing 25 Zoom calls a week, training everybody one-on-one, and that was just not sustainable as we grew. So I needed to find a way to train everybody in bulk. I put out the university, and then I started getting people coming to me saying, I don't want to change my upline, but I want your training. Can I just pay you for it? And I'm like, you would do that? I'm like, Durr? I was like, so I started charging for the university. That's how the consulting side of the business was born. So it all came from needs. And then for a while there, for a year or two there, I was selling and I was working with agents at the same time. I very quickly became stretched too thin. So I started hiring more. We started hiring agents more. We started hiring more staff to take things off my plate slowly but surely. And then as time went on, I faded out of working with customers. I faded out of selling. But it doesn't mean our agency stopped selling. We just replaced my selling efforts with other agents that could step in and take that off of my plate. So for me, it was just a gradual transition. I don't want to hog the rest of our time with my answer on this, but I think the key to me was understanding that I don't have to do everything, which was a learning curve for me. I didn't like overnight or right at the beginning get that.
He's still figuring that out, by the way, you guys.
I think I'm pretty
got a lot
pretty
better.
far with it. Like
a lot better.
To think about it today, I don't speak with clients ever. I don't write business ever. So I'm completely removed from that side of things. And you know, I think I just trained our clients to understand that they don't have to deal with me to get their problem solved. And agents always feel like, I had this conversation the other day. Agents always feel like when they're removing themselves, when they get to that point from interacting with the clients and them having to be the end all be all for the client, they have this perception that this huge amount of their clients will leave. And like they have fears that they'll lose 50% of their book, right? That kind of thing.
Yep.
And what I learned is the reality of it, as long as you keep the standards of service high and you train your staff well on that, and you make sure that the way you are servicing them is continued with your staff that you're hiring, and your customer experience is there, it's a way lower percentage than you might think. It might be like 1% of your clients, and it's the ones you would probably love to get rid of.
Yes.
And so like you might even have a higher percentage of the clients threaten to leave, you know, because they're used to dealing with you. But out of the people that actually threaten to leave, it's a very small percentage that actually will. A lot of them are bluffing. And so you end up losing just a couple of people. That's literally what happened to us. And so, you know, we've over time built me out of it. Like, will you call our office today? I'm not even on the menu. You can't get to me.
Boom.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
You can't touch me.
You can't. You literally can't. Like, if a client has my email, they can email me. You know, it might get forwarded to one of our team members. I'm not probably.
We even took his name out of the company, you guys. It's not even.
Actually, yes. So like, and you look at it today, we just got off of from 2024 to 2025, one of the most volatile years ever. We had almost a 98% retention rate. Someone emailed me the other day. They asked me, does that include deaths and people moving? Yeah, it does. For one, we don't lose people when they move. We're licensed in 45 states. So there's that. But yeah, it includes deaths. And I don't know any other agency. If you guys have over 1,000 clients and you have a 97.5 to 98% retention rate, I'd love to hear about it. I don't think any agency at our size has that retention rate. I don't believe it. I've never heard anybody talk about it.
I think part of the uniqueness to the agency too is that it's based in Utah. I think Utah is one of those states that a lot of people, especially if you're like a national presence, you know, you're based in Florida, you're based in California, like you're in one of these major states and you're trying to have a national presence. I feel like a lot of people don't target Utah. So I think that might be part of it too, is like, you know, it's just not a state that a lot of people are thinking about, you know, and I think that's helpful. We are getting towards the top of the hour, and I know we've got at least one more question I'd like to try to get to. So, you know, I think the key there that with Christian's story, and the reason why I think Christian's had as much success as he has had already, is because he waited so long before answering this question. of, do I start an agency? Do I start an FMO? How do I do this? If you get into becoming an agent, and we talked about MLMs on the podcast before, but if you get into becoming an agent, you get licensed. And one of the first things you're thinking about is recruiting. One of the first things you're thinking about is starting an agency, hiring more agents. It's probably not the right time. And I'm not here to tell you today or to try to virtue signal on this podcast right now and be like, you need to wait exactly this much time, or you need to sell exactly this much premium before you start an agency or before you hire an agent. You'll know. I think you'll know when it is the right time. But rough rule of thumb we've talked about before is like a year. Have success for a year as an agent. At least a year. And then start looking at potentially growing an agency.
Yeah, like I think if you're talking about recruiting in particular, I think it was actually a great thing for me that I was just an agent for 6 years, because I built a super, super strong foundation of clients and a book of business. Because when you work with agents, one thing people don't understand is it is a ton of work to take care of them. It's not necessarily glamorous. A very small percentage of them will be successful. Everybody, when they first come in, thinks, I'm going to be the exception. I'm going to make sure my 90% of my agents are successful. And usually with that, anytime I've ever seen anybody have those, a huge amount of success, it's to their detriment, because they're literally dragging that agent to the finish line. Like they're running their appointments for them and kind of things. And like they're babying them, they're spoon feeding them. I would rather like, it's like you have a kid, right? They're learning to walk. At some point you got to let them walk on themselves and fall, or you can hold them up by their hands until they're 18.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
So your success rate of them walking is probably going to be better if you're holding their hands up and you never let go. They're never going to fall.
Yes.
But is that really what's best for your kid? No. And so it does take a lot of work to service agents and help support the agents. And, a lot of agents, their careers are ended because they try to start recruiting and they're trying to do all these things.
100%.
And they're stretched too thin, and they're not making any money. Like, it's a very real thing. You recruit 10 agents and none of them make you any money. And you're just running yourself ragged, answering their questions, answering their phone calls, everything like that. So I'm a huge believer at building a really big book first. And because you can control that so much more than you control other people.
Yes. I think making sure that you yourself, whether you're selling life or health, like making sure that you have this base of success to build on. You have a foundation to build on. I see so many agents try to recruit too early, try to start an agency too early, and it does lead to failure. So I love that. Okay, so I don't know how many more questions we'll get to. I'd like to get to at least one more, since this was a previously asked question. Maybe we'll have time for one more after this. We'll have to see. We're getting towards the top of the second hour of our 100th episode of the Seven Figures or Bust podcast, you guys. Comment if you want to get in on Freebie Friday. We're giving away 100 T65 leads in honor of our 100th episode. Drop your question below. We'd love to answer it. Maybe we'll answer. What do you think? Answer questions for Team Replay if they drop questions.
I'll do my best. I don't want to promise anything, but I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
I'll try. I'll say for the next 24 hours, I will try to answer all of Team Replay's questions if you guys are watching the replay on this. Here's the next question. What are the acceptable times to call clients or to call prospects? I try to not call before 9:30 or past 7. On Saturdays, I make calls 11 to 1. And I do not call Sundays unless requested by the client to do so. Sunday was always my family day in my house, so I try to keep it that way. I try to keep that day off of my work schedule unless I'm requested. So, Christian, thoughts? What do you think on this one? Great question, by the way.
Great question. So I always had the most success personally. And again, I've known a lot of agents that have had different time periods in terms of success. So it's not saying it's a blanket statement, but I always had my best success calling leads or calling in any form or fashion. Mondays, Tuesdays, I mean, really any day of the week. The reason why I early on did those 2 days is because I was booking in-person appointments to go to their house. So my model was Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday if necessary, to book Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'm going out to the houses. But if you're just doing telesales or you're not booking in-person appointments, like it doesn't matter really what day of the week. But like, I think Friday's probably your worst day. I generally, but I would say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 11 or 11:30 was probably a prime time for me. So if I was trying to do a lot of calls and I wasn't calling at 9, if I wasn't calling until 9:30, I think you're missing out on some prime time. I wouldn't call before 9 though. That's a little too early unless you're calling a different time zone. And then I would not saying I wouldn't call the rest of the day, but like I would make it a point, whatever I was doing, that I would call those times no matter what. And then from like 4 to 8, I would call. So I would a lot of times go to 8. And there were a lot of times where I had really good conversations with people that would end up becoming clients after 7. So 7 to 7:45, something like that. It's a long day. I get it. I understand. I did it a lot. I did it a lot in my career. For me, when I was calling on Saturday, the mornings were kind of best, like 10, 11, 12 were the best times for me. And on Sunday, let me mention that. Sorry. I usually wouldn't call Sunday. Some of you guys do, and some of you guys it works. Like where I live in Utah, calling on Sunday is like slapping someone's wife or their mother. So you can't like
the Utah market, baby. It's unique. I think everything Christian said there was great. The loaded question, the subjective part of this question is what demographic are you calling?
Yeah,
if it's the turning 65 market, they're probably still working potentially, and now trying to call them in the middle of the day is really going to just suck. So maybe you want to hit them earlier in the morning, like maybe you are calling them between 8 to 10 a.m. and then maybe you're trying again like 4 to 7 p.m. If it's the older crowd, the crowd already on Medicare supplement, final expense, they're above the age of 65, they're probably home. In that middle of the day hour, they're going to have a better chance of picking up, calling really anytime Monday to Thursday. Historically, Fridays have usually not been great. This is coming from a call center owner for a decade. That last day of Friday, it's just people are trying to get stuff done. They're either going somewhere on the weekend or they have errands they're running or whatever it is, or if the weather's nice, they decide to go somewhere outside on Fridays. So I wouldn't, if there was a day you were like, what should I skip? Fridays, Sundays, interestingly enough, I personally have never enjoyed calling on Sunday. I've done it a little bit. I do feel like there's kind of a, it's the weekend. People are going to church. People don't want to talk on Sundays. One of my early managers, though, he swore calling on Sundays was like one of the best. He would call between his hours were 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday. He said he'd get people coming home after church. He acted like everyone was home Sunday afternoon. And he acted like he would clean up, and he would love it because he would set early next week. He'd be setting appointments for Monday, Tuesday next week. And he acts like that was great. I never really enjoyed calling on Sunday. My favorite time was 9 to 1 on Saturday. 9 to 1 on Saturday, it seemed like everyone was picking up the phone. Everyone was receptive. People were hanging out, eating breakfast. They were willing to talk to me, especially the people that were hard to get a hold of. If you're struggling, like we've heard people on the stream today talk, like I can't get people on the phone. Try them Saturday morning.
Yeah.
If you tried calling during the week and you can't, try Saturday morning, you'll probably get them on the phone for sure.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I would agree with that.
Yeah. We got one more. You want to try to get one more in?
Yeah.
Jam one more in?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Keith has a question here. Generally speaking, how would you compare ROI of T65 versus live transfer versus presets? If you could only choose one, what would you choose? Keith, this might be the final question of our 100th episode. Congratulations.
I'm reading it through just to make sure. Okay, so how would you compare ROI to T65 leads versus live transfers versus preset appointments? I would say live transfers would be at the lowest of the totem pole of those three for me.
Yeah.
Reason being is I think live transfers, everything has to be right. Everything has to go right. You have to be like available to pick up the phone right then and there. You can't be on another call. It's hard if it's just for a single agent.
Yes. Preach.
I've learned I've learned that myself as an agent, right? When I would try to do them for me, like, they would try to call me and like I couldn't answer. Like I get pulled into something else. And I know Glenn's talked about that a lot on the lead side as well. So to me, it really would be between T65 leads and preset appointments. If I could only choose one, I think I'd take preset appointments, because they are pre-scheduled on your calendar. You put in like some calendar automations, right, for reminders of appointments.
What about being in the off season right now, though? What about this time of year?
Yeah,
Does
that's a good
answer.
Probably, yeah. I think it does depend on what time of the year we're talking about. If we're talking about AEP, I'd probably do preset appointments. That's a good point. If I'm talking right this second, I'd probably say T65 leads. So that does vary a little bit, but in general, I like the preset appointments better because I have a scope and everything like that. But right now, T65 leads, no question.
Yeah. So the key part of this question for me is this live transfer thing. The industry has this perception that live transfers are the holy grail. And if you have the right setup, they can be. But in my opinion, live transfers are designed for a call center.
Yeah.
Because if I generate a live transfer, which Lead Heroes does, Lead Heroes has generated probably hundreds of thousands of live transfers over the years. We're doing it right now. There's people generating live transfers. But when we transfer that call, if you are going to the bathroom, if you are Bobby Brasino, shout out. If you are presenting on the other line, if you are busy and you don't pick up the phone, that live transfer is worthless. So, if you have 5 agents, though, if it's you and 5 agents in your agency and we transfer and all of your phones are ringing, now you have a situation that's conductive for a live transfer. You have to have a pickup rate that's over 80%, over 90%. If we're sending live transfers from Lead Heroes and you're not picking up the phone, what's the point? What are we doing? And I've had that conversation so many times, you guys, with an agent or an agency owner where I'm like, hey, especially when they're complaining about the campaign, which cracks me up. They call me out. They're like, this campaign's not working. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the stats. You guys only answer 1 out of 3 calls that we're sending you. So what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. So I like preset appointments a lot. I think our general Medicare presets are best during AEP. Right now, I would definitely be working T65 in the off season. Also, shout out to Lead Heroes Dental Vision Hearing Leads. You can get dental vision hearing leads for just $10 a pop. It's insane. They're new this year. We've had tons of great feedback already on those. If you're selling dental vision hearing and you want to do more of it, check it out. Head over to Lead Heroes. Guys, we're at the top now of our second hour on our 100th episode. We ran the gauntlet today. How are you feeling? Do you need to go stretch? You need some black coffee?
I'm a vet.
Oh, this is nothing. He's like, another hour. He's like, keep it going. I got another 10 hours. It's telethon time, baby. Mammoth, let's go. Oh, man, that's funny. So I will say, hashtag team replay. If you're watching the replay of our 100th episode Q&A, drop your question below. Christian and I will try to get to you. I'm going to do a Glenn guarantee on the next 24 hours, okay? If you drop a question in the next 24 hours on the stream, I will answer it, or I will tag Christian and be like, hey, you need to answer this question. I'll force him. I appreciate everybody who has watched. This was great. This was a great episode. Really appreciate the community. Appreciate the people who are showing up every day to the podcast. It's awesome.
Yes.
It is awesome.
Yes. Are we going to do final thoughts? Are we going to do final thoughts?
I think we have to. I think we have to. We have
Yeah.
to. Final thoughts, Mr. Brindle.
So my final thoughts on episode 100 of the Seven Figures or Buzz podcast would probably be, great questions from you guys in the Facebook
Yes.
community. We really have an intention with this podcast when we started doing it at the beginning of this year in this way. We were doing some episodes a little bit before, but very few. And our intention has been to bring you a ton of value, bring you ideas on how you can grow your business, but also like keep you informed on what's going on in the industry. Like, this show is designed to truly be your one-stop shop for all things you need to know to stay informed, new ideas to grow your business, and to kind of help solve problems you might be running into. So we appreciate all the love and support you guys have provided us this year. I mean, we're basically 5 months into this, doing it 4 times a week. It's been a huge time commitment for both of us.
Huge.
Giant.
I was joking yesterday to Christian. I was like, we're just podcasters. We don't we don't run a business.
Sometimes it feels that way.
Yeah.
But this was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Maybe when we get to episode 150 or 200 or something like that, we do something else fun like this. We'll have to see. And make sure to tune into all of our regular shows as well. This is the last one for this week on Thursday, but we will be back next Monday. As always, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Those would be my final thoughts.
I love it. My final thoughts today, you guys, when Christian and I were talking about 2025, and it's crazy that we're almost halfway through 2025 already, we're wrapping up our first year 100% merged together, and we're talking about, what do we want to do in 2025? How do we want things to be different? I really felt strongly about doing a podcast and trying to do something that's more often than once a week. Taco Tuesday, the goal was always once a week. We didn't always get to it once a week, but I wanted to do something that was more on a daily basis. So that way, again, we could cover all sorts of topics, especially current events, which I've really enjoyed being able to have guests on. We had an incredible guest on this week, and I know we'll have some more great guests on here soon, but I can't believe we're already at 100 episodes. This was awesome. Yeah. Guys, appreciate everybody who watched today. I appreciate everyone who asked questions today. If you're part of our audio only audience, I appreciate you guys listening.
Yes.
Again, Freebie Friday is tomorrow. We are going to give away 100 turning 65 leads from Lead Heroes. Comment on today's stream or one of the other streams in the 7-Figure Medicare Agent Facebook group. That will automatically enter you into the giveaway that will happen tomorrow here in the group. We will announce those winners and tag all of you guys so you can get your free turning 65 leads. If you need turning 65 leads right now, do not wait. Head over to leadheroes.com. You can save $500 or more, just like Mr. Dr. Oz here told us earlier in the stream. Save $500 or more when you purchase turning 65 leads either today or tomorrow. After tomorrow, so Friday at midnight, these are going to be $45 per lead again. We can't do these types of discounts all the time for many different reasons. So take advantage while you can. Grab these exclusive call verified turning 65 leads where we are calling seniors who opted in and wanted more information about their Medicare options, and they're approximately 2 to 5 months from their 65th birthday. Head over to leadheroes.com, leadheroes.com now. Grab these before they're gone. And until next week, you guys, happy selling. Christian, anything else the folks need to know?
Yeah, guys, just to kind of, put a pin in it for the episode 100. As Glenn said, Freebie Friday, no more to be said there. On our YouTube channel, make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're consuming this on the YouTube channel for the podcast. And if you're watching on any other platform, highly recommend, if you like YouTube content, to subscribe there and follow us there for full-length video episodes. It's going to be the best place going forward since Facebook only saves them for 90 days. And make sure to subscribe. Give us 5-star reviews on all platforms that allow you to do so, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We'd certainly appreciate the support from you guys and appreciate all the support you guys have given.
Yes.
Episode 100 in the books. Thank you, everyone. And we will see you on the next one. Here's to your massive success. Thanks, everybody.